So alongside the Hall of Fame game last night, we had big news about Terry McLaurin. He requested a trade from the Washington Commanders. Jordan Schultz initially reported it. Of course, you go on ESPN. They also give the credit to Adam Schefter as well. And this is no surprise. The contract negotiations from McLaurin and the Commanders has been it's been bad to say the least. It's been stiff. It's been slow. It's been very low progress. However you want to put it as. And I get McLaurin's frustration because he has been one of, if not the most, not just consistent offensive player, but consistent player on the team in general since getting to the team in 2019, being drafted in the third round. And I completely agree with him that he should be paid deservedly so, at least in the $30 million range. I mean, look at the two recent wide receivers that got paid. I get it's different because especially the age-wise, and that's certainly a factor that's playing into the reason why McLaurin is not making progress on his deal is Garrett Wilson and DK Metcalf. When you look at Garrett Wilson, he got paid $32.5 million. DK Metcalf got paid $33 million. Again, I do believe McLaurin should be in that range. He has been, to me, one of the most underrated players in the NFL, especially in the wide receiver category. He has been consistent when you look at the countless quarterbacks, dysfunction that he's had to deal with up until before this 2024 season. It's just that is the issue. That is what he's dealt with. He has never had any problems with the team. He's never made any drama. He's done everything he's been asked to do. And he's been a great player for this franchise, and I think that he does deservingly should be rewarded for that too. Regardless of the age, and he is 29 years old. He will turn 30 September 15th. So we're almost there, a few weeks away for that. And I'm sure that's certainly a factor that's playing into, again, the lack of progress being made, or at least with the top dollar money that maybe he's asking for. But he's still producing. It may not be first team All Pro type of stats or top 5 wide receivers, but he is a 1,000-yard receiver. If you look at going back to his career, looking through it. He's had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, kind of similar to Mike Evans in a way. This past year, he had 117 targets, 82 receptions, 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns, which the touchdowns is a career best in that one. And again, I think he's a great, not just looking at McLaurin too, but also looking at Jane Daniels. I think he's no doubt a great weapon for Jane Daniels. I think they have a great rapport. They've done well. I think it's best to right now keep it going. I'm not saying you have to have McLaurin on a long-term deal, 4 or 5 year deal, but I think maybe looking at 2 to 3 years potentially. I think that is certainly generous enough. I think it's good enough, and maybe put a little bit more money into it. I don't know if he'll get to $33 million like DK Metcalf, but I think he certainly can be in the $30 million range. When I look at players in that category, you have Brandon Ayuk at $30 million even, along with Tyreek Hill. You have Ramon St. Brown at 32, just a little over $30 million. And of course, going to A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, we talk about $32 or $33 million in that range with those guys as well. So with that too, trying to project if it does happen, surely it's it's a negotiation tactic trying to put pressure on the team. But looking at potential odds or destinations for McLaurin, you look at DK Sportsbook if you care about any of the betting places that put the betting odds on there. They put it, of course, Washington number 1 at -250, which is rightfully so. After that, you have the New England Patriots, the Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titans, which I guess does fit the bill with that, with having aging older wide receivers on the team. So it certainly fits the bill with that. But Tennessee Titans, Los Angeles Chargers, the New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. And when I look at that list, certainly the first few are intriguing. I mean, if I go back to just jokingly to the Tennessee Titans, yes, this would be I think a good step for Cam Ward and trying to accelerate his growth and his progression. So I can understand that in that aspect. The Chargers, I'm not sure. I mean, because you have Quentin Johnson, you have Ladd McConkey. I just don't know where he's going to fit in that, at least just for the money aspect of it too. I'm sure all these teams will figure it out, but at least the money aspect, I don't know. I'm not sure where the Chargers are in the cap situation for that, but also too just fitting in the offense. It's just I don't know if that would be the best option for it, especially in a Greg Roman offense. It's going to be more run heavy in that aspect where I don't know if McLaurin's going to get the numbers that maybe he's looking for in that regard. The Raiders absolutely need a wide receiver trying to find your next Devontae Adams or replace him in that aspect, trying to help Geno Smith and also Ashton Jennings trying to take maybe the pressure off of him as well. For the New England Patriots, still even with bringing in Stephon Diggs, there's still still certainly question marks about not just his playing ability, but also just the off the field issues, the distractions. How long is that going to last with his tenure there? So even with Stephon Diggs, and I still think he is a good wide receiver, certainly bringing in more help from McLaurin, and also looking at the AFC East too. If you're trying to catch up to the Buffalo Bills and really put pressure on them, really have a chance to kind of steal the first spot in the division, that certainly can help, and also too with Drake May's growth as well. After that, the Jets. I could kind of see that, especially trying to help Justin Fields along with Garrett Wilson. The Browns certainly need a wide receiver. It's tough. It's tough to really put a lot of things on Jerry Jeudy, even though he had a great season last year. I still don't buy in him being a truly number one wide receiver. So I think there is some, they do need some help with that in that regard as they try and, not even just that's not even the biggest question with them, but trying to figure out the quarterback situation. And after that, it's okay. I don't really see the Steelers, Cardinals, Seahawks happening. I don't really see that in that aspect of it because you brought in DK Metcalf. I don't see them making a trade to get another top dollar wide receiver. The Cardinals, I just don't see Terry McLaurin going to Arizona. Seattle, I guess you could, but again, you brought in a decently paid Cooper Kupp, and also you have Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't know if you want to bring another receiver in that aspect, but the first few, again, the Patriots, Raiders, Titans make a little bit of sense to me. And again, going back to the number one spot as they should for Washington. I don't think at the end of the day McLaurin is going to be traded. It's just a negotiation tactic. I think just really showing the frustration that McLaurin's having with the franchise. And I think both sides don't want them to go. I don't think McLaurin wants to leave Washington. I don't think Washington wants to see McLaurin leave as well. So I do think inevitably this contract will get done. I just don't know how far in the future it's going to be. If it's going to be a month from now, 2 months from now, if they want to kind of cut the negotiations off before the season starts, I don't know where it's going to be in that aspect of it. But again, going back to McLaurin and just talking about himself and does he deserve to be paid? Absolutely, he does. Again, even regardless if you're looking at the age, if you're someone that gets worried at once a receiver hits 30 years old, then you kind of look at them differently. I still think McLaurin is still a productive wide receiver. Again, he's shown that he hasn't put up the biggest numbers. I mean, his career high in receiving yards is 1,191 yards. So we're not talking about 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards. We're talking about like the CeeDee Lambs, Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases of the world. But he is still a productive wide receiver. He's still a 1,000-yard wide receiver that people always look for. He is again, you look at this past year, 13 touchdowns, which I don't think he'll replicate that, but he can give you that 6-7 touchdown range, no doubt about that in his career. He's still capable of that. And again, I think going back to not just looking at himself, but also looking at Jane Daniels, I don't think you want to ruin that growth of him. I think they have the great rapport. They did well in his rookie season, and I don't think you want to take weapons away. You look at especially his counterpart for the wide receivers side with Deebo Samuel. I don't think you really should put a lot of faith in him either with him slowing down a little bit and also the injury aspect as well. I don't think you want to trade away McLaurin and be stuck with Deebo Samuel as your potential number one wide receiver when there are a lot more question marks with him. So you can put that aspect with the age and so forth on him because of just the history he's had with, again, injuries and so forth. But for McLaurin, he's been rock solid. He has been. You look at, he's played a full season the last 4 seasons, knocking on wood, hopefully nothing changes. He missed a couple games. In the first 2 years of his career, he missed 3 games. After that, he's not missed a game since. So he has been healthy. He has played every game of the season the last 4 years, and that should be, that should mean something on top of that. So if you're worried about injuries, you don't have to worry about that. Again, knocking on wood, hopefully nothing happens, but he's been consistent. He's been available. He's been healthy. He has put up solid numbers. I think that deserves a contract. Again, when you look at other guys as well that he stacks up to, and if you want to compare last 3-4 years of stats, it certainly warrants that. When I compare these guys last 3 years, because I go as far as Garrett Wilson coming back in the league in 2022, so I'm looking at from 2022 to 2024. McLaurin stacks up. I mean, they're all relatively played the same amount of games, 51 games for both Garrett Wilson and McLaurin. DK played 48. If you look at the receptions, he is up there with these guys. He is the second most out of the 3. He has the most receiving yards out of the 3 guys, most touchdowns out of the 3 guys. and he has the most Pro Bowls, and he's the only person out of this list that has an All-Pro selection. So I look at that, and it's like you look at these two guys again. The biggest thing is age, no doubt about that. That definitely does play a big factor. But when you're stacking these guys up the last few years, and you look at the stats, he is up there, or in most aspects, he's better than these guys statistically in some categories. And again, if you want to look at the accolades with Pro Bowls, he has that. Garrett Wilson does not have a Pro Bowl, nor does he have an All-Pro. DK only has one Pro Bowl, and on top of that too, he's the only person on the list, like I said, that has an All-Pro selection. Though it was a second-team All-Pro, it's still an All-Pro selection. And again, you look at the stats, he's up there for receiving yards, or sorry, receptions. He has the most receiving yards. He has the most touchdowns. So that should mean something. Again, if you're stacking up to guys who have gotten paid recently, if those guys get that in that 30, a little over that $30 million plus range, Terry McLaurin should certainly get that. I'm not saying you have to give me again a long-term option, a long-term contract, but at least a 2 to 3 year deal. Maybe that's maybe had a 3 year deal, maybe is it somewhat of a long-term deal, but if you don't give him at least a 2 year option and whatever it is, $31 million, $32 million, I think he should be paid that way. Right now, you have the benefit of doing that because of just Jane Daniels being on a rookie contract. I think you can afford that. If Jane Daniels was on a second or a second contract and he's being paid up until the well into the 55 or close to $60 million range, if that came down to it, then I can kind of understand why that you would be a little reluctant to pay big money for that. But with Jane Daniels on a rookie deal, I think you should go out there and take the chance. You saw that with Deebo Samuel. Like I said that too. I mean, it is a iffy situation. I don't know if it's going to work out, but they had the luxury of doing that because he's on a rookie contract. And I think you should also look at too with Terry McLaurin as well. A 2 year deal. If you don't want to go 3 years, do 2 years. And, again, $30+ million, however you want to phrase it as, to me, that is a good option altogether. It may not be a long-term deal maybe McLaurin's looking for, but he is getting his money in a 2 year, in a 2 year span, and everyone's happy. You keep McLaurin, and McLaurin gets the money he's looking for in that short deal. So, again, I think that's, again, I don't think at the end of the day that McLaurin is going to leave Washington. I'd be very shocked. I think that'd be a horrible decision for Washington. That would be a horrible decision, not just for this upcoming year, but I shouldn't say I shouldn't project it down the line, but certainly for this upcoming season, that it's going to derail it because I just don't think that the offense is going to be capable of going head to head with Philadelphia in the division or anyone else if you take away Terry McLaurin. I'm sorry, you don't. There's no one else really outside in the wide receiving group that really scares me. But McLaurin is a great player. If you take that away, you have Deebo Samuel. Again, you take the gamble of the injury issues with him as well, and as he can still be the great player he once was. So we'll see how it plays out again. I don't think McLaurin's going to leave. This will be dragged out a little bit longer. Hopefully they get this done by before the regular season starts, and then we can move forward with that. But McLaurin will be staying here. He deserves to be paid, and hopefully he does.